So 11 years ago, exactly on this day today, I moved to Estonia. The small country called Estonia became my home for the next 11 years. Little did I know that this would be the most significant event that ever happened in my life. I originally came there to study, but then I started working in a really good company. I went through every experience imaginable. I started my own business. I went through heartbreaks. I went through layoffs. I went through burnouts. I went through breakdowns. And 5 years ago, I started sharing my story on YouTube, and with a lot of patience and a lot of work, I somehow became the face of Estonia online. I introduced hundreds and thousands of people to Estonia and helped quite a lot of them move and settle here. But 11 years later, I thought to myself, if I moved to Estonia today, what would I do differently? Do I have any regrets? And if yes, what regrets are those? And I want to share them with you so that you can learn from them. So, from the least to the most important, here it goes. My biggest regrets about 11 years living in Estonia. Number one, I would start learning the language immediately. Even if you're going to a country for a month or 2 months or 3 months, it doesn't matter. You should start learning the language immediately, no matter where you go, whatever you do, because this is an extremely, extremely important thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I did learn the language. I mean, I learned Estonian and I even passed my full language exam because it was, of course, needed for citizenship. But there were quite a lot of years when in between I just became really complacent and I stopped learning more because it just felt too much effort and I became really comfortable. What I should have done from day one is that even a tiny bit, I would just start learning every day, and I would make goals every monthly, every quarterly, that this is the language learning goal that I should have, and I should learn this much. It doesn't matter how much that would be, even if it's very little. I would have made it fun and engaging and not been so hard on myself and been okay with whatever method works. I have been to many countries across Europe, the USA, and Middle East, and I can tell you from first-hand experience that learning the local language is a cheat code. Even if it's just 3 phrases, it gets you ahead more than anything else. Even in places like, for example, Dubai or Malaysia, where English is widely spoken, learning Arabic or Malay makes you stand out like nothing else. It is one investment of time and energy that has huge returns. So yeah, I would learn the language from day one, not put it off until I really had to do it. Number 2, financial independence. When I first came to Estonia on a scholarship, my source of income was just a stipend. I had no tuition fee, just normal expenses like food and accommodation. But I was in my 20s and first time abroad, and I didn't really think too much about money. I just really, really wanted to see and explore the world. But then I got my job. I mean, my salary was okay, but nowhere near what, for example, tech guys were getting. Maybe I was getting 1/2 or 1/4, even though I was a very experienced engineer doing with a master's degree. But I liked the job, and it was an international company, and I gained really good experience, but I wasn't earning much. I mean, over the span of maybe 3 to 5 years, I got 30 to 40% raise. I did start saving, but the cost of living in Estonia rose extremely fast. And by my 3rd year at my work, I realized that even if I stayed for the next 10 years, I would never earn what I wanted. I needed to either switch to tech or build other income streams. So I did try learning tech. I did try to learn coding, which was a terrible idea because it was something that was not for me. I also tried other methods. I tried saving money, but it was kind of useless. I mean, I was already cutting costs and not eating out much. I remember that I tried saving so badly that there was this one time I ordered takeaway and I asked for a little extra portion, and the guy that I ordered it from got really mad that how could I ask that? So saving didn't really work for me as well. Saving wasn't a way to earn money. So eventually I realized that I couldn't just rely on saving. If I wanted financial freedom, I really needed to create new sources of income. So I started looking for gigs, I started learning for projects, I started content creation. It was there when I formed my own company and started to experiment with different projects. Most projects that I worked on failed, but I did earn something, and that confidence told me that it was possible. My regret is that I wish I had done this sooner and not spend so much time wasting on things that I didn't know I wasn't really good at. The lesson learned here is that If you want financial independence and if you want to have more money, focus on the goal of having money, not really the method. Now, I was focusing on the method. I was thinking that, okay, if I go into tech or if I start saving or if I do this, then I would start earning money. Whereas the solution was right there in the front. If you want money, you should just start focusing on money, things that can give you money right away, whether it is side gigs, whether it is projects, whether it is anything else. Do whatever works for you. Just don't get married to method, what other people are doing. Focus on the money. And I think if I get a chance today, if I move to another country today, I would just right away start to understand, start to learn what people do there in that country to save money, to earn money. What are the different things that they do in taxation and in other forms of saving? Like, what are the most important things particularly related to that country, related to that taxation? What do people do to save money and to earn money and then to invest money? This knowledge is absolutely indispensable, and I kind of regret that I didn't start from way sooner. Financial independence, way more important than anything else. Number 3 regret, I should have gotten any property, whether it is an apartment or a place or anything. So when I first came to Estonia in 2014, property prices in Tallinn, the capital city, were not really high. The areas I lived in weren't really developed yet. I mean, Kalamaja, the area that I lived in, had just started changing, and there was this another area that was starting to not even developed yet, and it was called Kopli. It was basically a slum. So I didn't think too much about buying property because I thought I wouldn't stay here for long. So I rented, and I rented the same place for like 9 years. Now, I would have never thought about buying a property, but one day I was told by my landlady that she needed the apartment for somebody and that I need to go. And suddenly I realized that I couldn't find anything close to the rent that I had been paying. Meanwhile, people who had arrived at the same time as me, people from Pakistan or any other countries, same age as me, but I guess even younger, they were working in tech, had bought apartments and places and were now renting them out. That was an eye-opener for me. Owning a place, owning an apartment, owning your place of residence isn't just a financial decision. It's also a peace of mind. I mean, nobody can kick you out. I mean, everybody bought a place. Everybody I know, my friends, my colleagues, everybody. Even a couple I knew, they were refugees from Ukraine, and they were working like basic, very normal jobs. They were waitress and the other person was doing jobs, and they still managed to buy an apartment in Kopli. So yeah, if I move to any other place today and if I have a stable job that pays me okay, I would get a place. It doesn't matter how small or how cheap it would be. It could give you a solid footing. It would give you a solid foundation. It would give you a sense of security that is yours. But for that, you need money. You need money for the down payment, of course, and I didn't really prioritize it. I wanted to explore the world and collect experiences, and then, yeah, maybe there could have been a middle way if I had known how important this was. But yeah, if I moved to another country today, I would focus from day one on buying a property. And number 4, very important, I would start taking care of my mental health from day one. If I could do it again, I would start taking care of my mental health from very day one. It is just as important as eating and sleeping. Now, I have talked about this before as well, but moving abroad is a huge change. You leave your family, you leave your friends, you leave your entire social circle, and then you land in a place with a completely different weather. There was no sun and gray skies and bland food and people who are cold and not very welcoming to your ethnicity. I mean, yeah, you stand out like a sore thumb. It takes a toll. It takes a huge toll on you. And I've seen it happen with many expats, that so much so that a lot of them turn to addiction, whether it is alcohol or whether it is drugs or whether it is just working, and then eventually they crash. And I crashed too, actually. After 3 years, I eventually had to go to therapy and medication to put myself back in order, because all of these things, they compounded with time, and I didn't put enough effort and attention to my mental health. If I could do it ever again, I would prioritize my sleep I would put supplements. I would make sure that I have enough physical activity. I would make sure that I have a very strong, stable community beside me, whether it is religious, whether it is communal, whether it is national, no matter what. I would have a solid community. And when all of that isn't enough, when you start to realize that, okay, everything that I'm doing is not working and everything is getting to me, I would be more gentle to myself. I would accept it and then take a break. I would leave for a while, maybe whether it is a couple of weeks or a month or two. Just go to another place, go back home or something. Take a sabbatical. Be gentle to yourself. Because the thing is that there is no reward for suffering. Even Estonians themselves, who were born and raised here for generations in this weather and climate and everything, even they leave during these hard winter months of darkness and all that to Spain or Thailand. So yeah, the lesson here is to be gentle with yourself. Forgive yourself. Not every battle is worth fighting. Take care of your mental health and understand that when it is enough and when whatever you're doing is not enough. Number 5, and that I feel is something that is almost unforgivable, because everything else that I shared before, I had good reasons for that. I mean, everything I gained something in return for not doing that. But this is something that still sits with me, and that is not standing up to bullies. Let me explain this to you. When you are a first-generation immigrant, you feel something called the immigrant's guilt. What I mean by that is you come from a poorer country, right? You come from a developing country and you suddenly come to a place where you have clean streets, where open roads, where you have well-paying jobs, where people are nicer to you, where there is human dignity. And then suddenly you tend to think that, okay, all of this is just a favor, the big giant favor that is given to you specifically. And this is like blessing bestowed upon you from the state. And then somehow you feel that, okay, you are somehow in debt, that you are obliged to give back to this country, that you are indebted to whatever this country is. And then there is this another factor here that comes into play, and that is that whenever you are an immigrant, everything about you is under scrutiny, right? So whenever you have to renew your papers, everything comes into play. So you don't really want to stand out. You don't really want to make any waves. And when someone bullies you, this guilt and fear comes into play. When somebody is racist to you, you just stay silent. I mean, you think that you don't want to risk my visa. I don't want to stand out. I should just be grateful and avoid it because the risk is too much bigger. The risk of being deported, for example. And this is something so common that I see it in every culture. Wherever first-generation immigrants went to, I see this immigrant's guilt and this fear. And even I did this many times. I came across bullies. I came across people who actively discriminated against me, and knowingly, I just didn't speak out because I was afraid. The truth is that immigrants, that whatever you are getting as an immigrant is not really charity. Immigrants contribute. Immigrants pay taxes. They keep the economy going. I mean, immigrants are young and they are very highly paid professionals, and those are the ones that keep the taxes going. And those are the ones that are paying for the pensions of the older generation of people. Immigrants are a net positive, especially professional immigrants who came here for jobs and employment. They are a net positive, and that is why these countries allow immigrants to come in. I mean, it's not a charity. These countries are not doing you any favor. They are putting their interest first. And when you come in with that guilt and fear, you come across bullies, and then when you don't oppose them, they get louder. So if a bully comes to you and misbehaves with you because of your ethnicity, or something happens at the job and you're overlooked for some reason, God knows whatever that is, and you don't stand up, and because you don't want to make any waves, you don't want to ruffle any feathers, any person, any bully who does that gets louder. They don't stop there. It's you today, someone else be there tomorrow. And that is what my biggest regret is, because if I had stood up in those moments, if I had stood up to those bullies, those probably wouldn't have gotten so much bolder that they would probably do this to other people. So yeah, my biggest regret is not standing up. I eventually did stand up, but I felt that there were moments that I could have done more, and I didn't do that. Whether I was at work, whether it was online, not being courageous, because bullies, they don't really stop until they're challenged. And yeah, I kind of didn't challenge them. So these are my 5 biggest regrets, what I count them as something that I would absolutely change if I moved to another place, if I moved to Estonia or any other country from day one. I hope you learned from it. This was more of a very personal experience sharing. And for any questions, for any issues, for any consultation, feel free to write to me, and I will see you in the next one.